All right, welcome to another episode of At Wit's End. I'm Ken, that's Carson.
Hello.
We're on episode 42, I believe. So to the naysayers, we're about 41 episodes more than you thought we would do.
Yeah.
Carson's 6,000 miles away, 9-hour difference. I'm on the west coast of the United States. Carson is in the beautiful country of Austria, home of Christmas markets, skiing, basically the Christmas country, I think.
Opera ski. Yeah, it's a pretty big Christmas country. Advent.
Well, it's actually weird because it
Advent.
seems when you ask Americans about Austria, they think of it as a Christmas country. They know the Christmas markets, alpine skiing, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I don't think Arnie's very Christmas themed, but skiing obviously is like top of everything in Austria. That's what everyone does.
I'm surprised how many people don't ski in Austria, but that's a whole another
There's
tangent.
Probably a decent amount, but yeah, like the per capita skiing rate is probably much higher than most countries in the world.
It's kind of Well, when you hop on a train and everybody's getting their ski gear, and you can hop off a train and go to the lifts. I mean, it's part of that's one of the great things of Austria. I love that. So you can get on a train in Vienna, go to one of the Alpine cities, get off, get to the ski resort, ski all day, come back down, put your skis on the train, sleep on the way back to Vienna.
Yeah, you gotta time it right. This is a decent ride away from Vienna, but
but you can't do that at all in the United States, really. So, not that I know of.
You could
where
ski out of your hotel room in Park City.
Yeah, but you got to get to Park City. I mean, I would say Park City is probably the closest as far as
Vail.
Like I used to fly in. They used to have a thing in Utah where you took your boarding pass and you got to ski free the day of your boarding pass.
Oh, not anymore.
No, not anymore. So I would fly out the first flight in the morning, get to Salt Lake City by 9, get up there at 9:30, 10, be on the slopes at that time, and then get done, come back down. So it was, and then they started to enforce things like they want you to do a survey. You had to register in advance, and then the whole thing just disappeared.
I mean, the price of tickets in the U.S. now are crazy for places like Salt Lake.
Well,
for Park City and
if you think about it, you
Colorado.
could have, even if you had no reason to go to Salt Lake City, but you wanted to ski, you could get on Southwest at, I don't know, $130 round trip. I'm saying these days, and a Deer Valley lift ticket's probably $125 for a day, something like that.
Today?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, it's probably at least double that.
Yeah, and that was, at least at the time, no snowboarders, only skiing, high end skiing. But they were included in that, which was amazing to me. So
nowadays I'm pretty sure I think they're over 200.
Yeah. I think the Olympics changed everything for Salt Lake City and Park City, kind of put them on the maps. And for those of us that don't like crowds, that's a sad thing. Great for the economy. But anyway, hey, that's just a different tangent. Our last episode, you were here in the United States. We had just gone to the F1 race. You were heading back.
It's now back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah, our distance podcast, the number one Austro-American podcast in the world, because I think we're the only one. But I think we're on a 2-week hiatus. It is definitely the holiday season.
But also because you had a big day a few days ago.
A life event. I don't know if it's a life event. I think I was more anxious about it leading up to it. So, if it was a nose job or something cosmetic, I probably wouldn't want to talk about it. But it's basically associated with getting old. But I'm actually one of the younger guys who've had it done. But my doctor's actually done it on a 15-year-old patient. So It is now Saturday in the United States, and
It's
on
Saturday
Monday,
here as well,
yeah,
so.
that's right. But in a few hours it won't be. But on Monday I had a hip replacement surgery, so it went better than I thought. I think my
Just a standard everyday hip replacement.
well, that's the thing. It is kind of a standard thing. It's almost like buying clothes off the shelf versus getting tailored. It's what was once tailor made is now off the shelf, I guess, is what it comes down to. Outpatient surgery, which blows my mind because they're taking your femur, opening up you know the midsection of your body near all the stuff that you value
They're
and
chopping a
they're
piece of your bone off.
chopping the ball tip of your femur off, taking that out, putting a foreign object on top, screwing it in, and then putting it back in and sewing you up.
Can I
And
ask, is
oh,
it
go ahead.
a titanium or ceramic one?
It's a titanium combination, is what they had told me, and I was told by some people, I won't be able to go through TSA. Some people said TSA, it's different now, but I don't know. I look
I think
forward to my first time.
it's got to be so normal for them now. I mean, when I was at the airport in Vegas, there was a guy in front of me that
Yeah,
had two knees, and he just walked through. Instead of the metal detector, he went through the full body
yeah.
scanner. So I
Well,
think now you have to go because that was a pre-check. So I think you're used to the metal detectors. I think now you're gonna be a body scan person.
yeah, maybe I should talk about that a little bit. I've had years of nothing happening at TSA, and then the last few times I had some TSA issues. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because I do fly a lot. I like to fly. I value getting through TSA quickly. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. But
No, I
I,
mean the
I'm
way I
talking
saw
to
it with.
so many people though that have had it done. Majority of them men. Um, And of the people I've talked to, I would say 50% of them younger than me. Um, one guy was about 12 years younger. He's having both done. Another guy is a couple years longer is having both done. And that was the other thing. I talked to him just a few days ago, and he called me, wanted to know how I was doing. I said, "Hey, great, man. I just took a shower." And he goes, "What? You took a shower?" And he had his done 2 weeks ago, and he said, "I haven't taken a shower in 2 weeks." And I go, "What do you? Why not?" And he goes, "You can't." And I go, well, it's a waterproof bandage. And I guess his wasn't. So it's kind of interesting. Your doctor and who you have do it, I guess, makes a lot of difference. There's some things like one of the other guys told me you can't have anything after 12 o'clock. So I went back through my paperwork, and he was saying I couldn't even drink water. And so I go, okay.
After midnight or after
After
noon?
the midnight before surgery. So no food,
Oh,
no anything.
that
And you
made
got to
sense.
stop. You got to stop all the if you're taking vitamins or minerals or any kind of drugs the week before, which I understand. But the water thing kind of really that doesn't make sense. I mean, you get a cotton mouth in the morning, and so I talked to my doctor that morning. He goes, "No, you can have water." So apparently, every physician's a little different. And even with the blood work, my doctor said, you don't have to do a urine analysis. And then when I got to do the blood work, they say you have to do a urine analysis. I go, well, doctor, I'll say my doctor's was Dr. Jameson. I guess I'll put his name out there. I told him I'd give him a good Yelp review, which I was joking, but I don't know. Maybe
No,
doctors do have Yelp.
no,
Really?
they're not Yelp reviews, but they're legit. There's like legit doctor review websites that people look up because it's some important decisions.
I'll have to look it up because, I call him Dr. J. And I had started going to him a few years ago because of my knees, which were always kind of bad since I was a kid. And I'd never had cortisone injections before. If you've played sports, you've heard of cortisone injections. You may have had them. I'd always avoided them because back in the, when I was in my youths, the cortisone would burn when it went in. So I said, I don't want it. Uh, my knees were getting so bad from my intense pickleball career that I decided to go ahead and have it done. And man, cortisone was great. I guess it's just not a
You're
long-term solution.
Your pickleball career has derailed you. You've
Yeah,
had
I'm
bad knee
I'm
problems, and now you've had a hip
well, knee
replaced because
problems,
of.
I'll put up with
Uh,
it. The hip problems, came on. I just always thought I was pulling something in my hips, or groin pull, or hip something. And then a friend of mine, I described it to him, and he said, "You have exactly what I have." And I go, "What do you have?" He goes, "I need a hip replacement." And I said, "No, dude, I'm not that old. That's for old guys." And he goes, "You're an old guy." And then when I had the X-rays done, sure enough, I was, I have severe, um, what do they call? Basically, like arthritis in the hips on one side, and uh, mid severe on the other. I can't remember the terminology. So I asked my doctor, "What are my options?" Thinking, he's going to say, "Oh, do yoga and therapy, physical therapy." He said, "Now or later." So I decided to do it now. Um, and then you sign so much paperwork, and you start getting a little antsy about any kind of surgery. And but then the cheapskate in me said, I'm past the point of no return when I signed the paper that said if I back out for any reason, I have to pay $1,000. So, but
Jeez.
so Dr. Jameson, guy, he knows what he's doing. I think he did like 5 the day I was in. He's done thousands.
Well, that's the thing. Like with these, there's so many surgeries like that nowadays that are just like nothing to most doctors. Like they're so well trained. The tooling is so good. I mean,
Yeah.
half the time it's like, you know, it's like they could do it with their eyes closed and
Well, that, and I
no
think
issues.
you know, guys from all over the world who want to get in the medical industry do come to the States to do well. You have somebody on your team coming to do their internship in Philly. Um, so healthcare in the United States gets criticized. I will say I think we have the best healthcare. I don't think we have the best access to healthcare, and we don't have the best payment system for healthcare. But I was impressed with everything from the
What
hospital to Dr. Jameson to the
it's
nurses.
yeah. I mean, we pay them so much that the doctors and the nurses and
Well, I
the
think payments
facilities are so
are
good.
yeah, are the middlemen, and there's so much litigation, paperwork, regulation, some good, some bad, that the costs just skyrocket. And again, it's the middlemen, and they're making all the money. That's like,
Yeah.
I got a walker, and I said, "Well, do I need a walker? Is it going to be on my bill? I don't want to pay $2,000 for a $40 walker I could get on Amazon." And they said, "No, you get it, you get it." So I got a brand new walker if anybody needs one. The tag's still on it. Um, but yeah, I would give Dr. J, uh, 5 stars, Yelp review, whatever. Pretty
Two
casual.
hips up.
Yeah, 2 hips. Did you get the picture? Did I send you the picture of the hip? What
Yeah,
he
the
took out?
gross one.
Yeah, I've sent it to a few people, and the comment is, "What the hell is that?"
Well,
Uh,
the weird part is, so he sent a picture of his hip
yeah, they
ball
wouldn't let me keep it.
that, or the femur ball, the top of the femur.
Hmm.
But the weird part for listening, won't describe it too much, but it's it when you look at it, and this must be the comment. It looks like it was just like ripped off.
Yeah, it
It's
looks like
not
a
like
dog chewed it off.
clean. It's not
Yeah.
clean at all, and it's very weird because like you'd think they'd like slice it off, drill it a hole in the rest of the bone, screw it in, and then like screw the new titanium one on top, and
Well, that's
they do.
I did want to ask him that, and I do want to ask him because engineering wise, how do they make sure they don't shorten your femur or extend it? And I say that before I assumed it was a nice clean cut and everything would fit. But now looking at that, it looks like, if you've ever bought a soup bone for your dog at the grocery store, it looks like a dog chewed on this bone, but it's much smaller. So I don't know how the technology behind it has got to be incredible. Obviously, he does it on a regular basis, so he's probably not aware of.
This kind of related, but also not related, so very tangential. But it was an interesting thing I was reading about, and it's a very true point. That if someone ever asks you, no one will ever ask you this, but what is the mark of a civilized society? And the real question is not like
Indoor plumbing?
hunting or plumbing or fire. It's did they have someone that lived after a broken femur?
Oh,
Because in the wild, when you break your leg, you
you're
are,
done.
as an animal, you're done. You're the next one
Yeah,
eaten. The herd will
yeah,
leave you behind. You die in the wild. But in a civilized society, being having a broken femur and then it being healed means that someone took care of you and supported you while you were needing aid and unable to care for yourself.
yeah.
And so the sign of a civilized society is a repaired femur, which
Well,
is an
and
interesting comment.
it's made me interested in doing some research. A couple of things I thought about in recovery and since
Being
is
a doctor.
no, God, no, I could never do it. Uh, when did it become such a day-to-day operation, just casual? When did it go from major surgery that you were in the hospital for a week to being outpatient, and the technology is so advanced that I was up walking right away. I mean, I didn't
I
really
mean,
need the walker either.
it's a good point because that's modern medicine in a nutshell. Yet, as a society, it feels like we've receded from trusting modern medicine, like over
Wait,
the last 20 to 30 years.
oh,
Like
definitely.
modern medicine did what you like produced. You're able to get a new hip in a day and walk the next like the same day,
Well,
right?
here's the other thing about what you're saying is one, there's the technology that has advanced, the education of the physician, but two, was it also motivated by capitalism?
Yeah, there's probably some point to
Because
it, but
yeah, they can make much more money doing five patients and filling up hospital rooms for other things. But if they can get you home
well,
and
that's
still charge,
that's that's the fundamentals of capitalism right there.
yeah,
Is like the stuff that's gonna make you money. That's what you invest in, right?
yeah,
So
and that's what I'm
if they
saying. And so
can,
I think in this case, I'm thinking there's a portion that was motivated by capitalism that made it such an efficient process. And I go back to cosmetic surgery. Nobody ever talks about breast implants or things like that as being. I mean, it's a day to day thing. It's real, it's not
see,
under
the thing now
healthcare.
is cosmetic surgery now. You go to so many, like you walk around the mall, and so many people in the mall will have had cosmetic stuff work done in some capacity, whether it's
Oh
like the
yeah.
injections, and it's the number is insane, and it's so normal now
Well,
that it's hard to like tell nowadays because it used to be you could like tell when someone was
yeah.
fully plastic. Nowadays, like most
Although the
most
lips and
look
stuff.
normal. Yeah, the
Well,
lips are like the common, and the
this
cheek
could be a
and
whole nother
Botox is so
show,
normal.
and you could the whole series of Housewives of Atlanta, Housewives of Beverly Hills. It blows me away. I look at them and I go, they've all had so much surgery done. To me, they look somewhat grotesque, not human. They look fake, and yet they believe themselves to be super beautiful, one percenters, the best of the best. And I'm sitting there and I go, I don't find them attractive at all, and somewhat of a sideshow freak show. Are those shows popular? I don't think I've seen one in Austria. Is there a
Yeah, probably.
Wives of
I don't know if there's
Pitstall?
a yeah, I don't know if there's like a housewife, but reality shows are definitely popular. Like
Yeah,
all the like Netflix, like Love Island and stuff like that. I mean,
yeah, but I mean the housewife
but
shows are
there's
those are the worst.
there's like a I saw it was like a doctor was talking about. I saw a TikTok about it where there's like an epidemic of girls in their late teens and 20s
Hmm.
getting too much Botox, and
Yeah,
it's and they when they go
which
back,
is a poison.
the doctor's like, yeah, you've had way too much, you need to stop. When they're like asking for more,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. You never even think about that. Like for me, I've never even like thought about someone getting that much Botox at like 24,
Well,
and
and,
it's wild.
and for those of you that have listened to the show before, I don't know if I mentioned. I'm pretty sure I have. I worked
You've
my way
had
through
Botox?
college. Yes, I have. Everywhere,
Yeah.
no, but I worked my way through college for a medical device company, and I made breast implants. I made testicular implants. I made lip implants. I made cheek implants. So it's always been around. The Botox thing is fairly modern. This was in the '80s, in the heyday of when silicone breast implants was just starting to emerge as a major industry. And I thought because of the lawsuits, it would kind of disappear, but it got bigger. literally bigger in many ways. So it's been around, and I can't believe we're talking about hips to help me walk around and run and bicycle, and we got off on a tangent of cosmetic surgery. But
But anyway, yeah.
it was a good thing. I would say I wish I had done it sooner. I do plan on getting the second hip done. I think, and I don't know why I'm not I jokingly say I'm a D1 athlete, but my recovery was pretty fast. And I shouldn't say recovery because I'll still be in it. The physical therapist said I'm doing great.
I think they all say that. So
yeah, but I'm hobbling around. But he gave me some telling me how other people are doing when I'm bending legs. We'll see. I mean,
he's just trying to get a 5-star review, so you give him a high tip too.
you think they give reviews? Did they get reviews?
No.
Physical therapy? Oh, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean,
Everybody gets reviews now.
I'm sure they get reviews, but
Yeah, yeah. So
I
it
mean,
is what it is.
they're just like the ones that your doctor contracts out or whatever has a
Well, yeah, that's the
partnership
thing.
with. So
He's the home guy, and I get a lot of paperwork, a lot of stuff to fill out, and then eventually, I think in a couple of weeks, I'll be going to a physical therapist, his office, and probably for the next 3 months. But all in all, I think it went well. I would encourage anybody that is needing it, don't freak out about it too much. One of the things I was kind of like, I shouldn't say worried about, but if you watch enough horror movies, the whole going under anesthesia, and then when you wake up, you don't know if it's been 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 years, whatever. Or the guy that goes under and he's still conscious and aware of things, but doesn't appear to be, and they still operate on him. But the anesthesia was through my spine, and I didn't have to count backwards. I remember talking to the anesthesiologist, and
the anesthesia is through your spine. What?
yeah, it wasn't an epidural. I said, you mean an epidural? She goes, no, it's a different spot on my spine. But
Wait, where did they
I
put the needle in?
I had to crunch over,
They
and
put
then
it in
they
your
put it through
back?
the base of my spine, which again, that's
What?
kind of freaky too, because you
Did
always
you
hear
feel
about.
it?
Not really, no.
Did they put a numbing?
I felt her putting the alcohol swab on there and just a little prick, and then I don't remember the time between when I got that and when I woke up, but I woke up
Dude.
and I looked around, everything was cool. I,
Anyway, so it
yeah.
went good and recovery's doing well. So what's the timetable to normal walking again?
Oh, I think that's going to be a while. They gave me a handicap placard for 6 months.
Okay.
So I have a legitimate reason. I am one of those guys that gets pissed off when I see people boarding, with quote special needs or handicap access before anybody, and they look like they're healthier than anybody I know.
So you can get on a Southwest flight early now, but you can't sit in the emergency exit row.
I know, kind of sucks.
No
What I think I
Southwest
will
first
do is
class.
get on early and sit in the first few rows,
The second
as, lo-
row, yeah.
as long as I can get my stuff up above, and I do that anyway. But when I when I woke up, I looked at my bracelet, and I was going to take a pee, and there was a little yellow highlighted area attached to it, and a fall risk. And one, I said, "Oh God, I am old." But two, that is the thing with any kind of hip replacement is falling. It's really not anything else. That's how you would damage yourself, is being unstable. But I've been pretty stable. My balance has been good. I'm going up and down the stairs. Uh, so I do. It's funny, in the pamphlet they give you is, they want you to remove all kinds of rugs that are on your floor, stuff that's laying around, furniture you might trip over. And I looked around after I read that, and I go, there's rugs and stuff everywhere, all kinds of risks for me. But yeah. And the best advice somebody gave me was get a toilet seat riser, because until you have something like this, you have no idea how low a toilet seat is. And I never realized it in the past, when you look at toilets and why some are high, some are low. Those low ones, man, they're a chore to use these days.
Pretty sure they're lower in the US than in most
I think
European
so.
toilets.
Oh, and before we go off this, that's another thing, and I was curious about is, here when I mention I have hip surgery, somebody will, oh, I'm having it done, or I had it done, my mom had it done, my brother's having it done. we have a pretty large family in Europe. I don't think anybody's had it done. I've never met anybody in Europe, but then I've never talked about it. So I wonder if hip surgery, knee surgery replacement, ACL is as common in Europe as in the
I
United
mean,
States. And I think a lot of it
ACL is a
relates to
whole
high school
different thing.
football, or not high school football, but high school sports,
Sports,
college
yeah.
sports in general. And I think in the States, we have such a sports culture. Not that you don't have it in Europe, but it's not the same. It's not as intense. Um, so I'd love to talk to a physician there and say, hey, how common is a hip surgery here?
Well, I mean, with steers, it's probably pretty common, but
Well, your aunt, my sister, said I have this to thank because of my mother. Apparently, she had a lot of
I
issues,
I think
which
it's the
she
thing
thinks it's
because
hereditary.
I think it's because of the year you were born and how long it's been since then.
What?
You're old.
Come on, man. I'm.
That's what it is.
You could have said it was
Anyway,
because of my intense athletic career.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So
Anyway, so
two
before
hips up.
you,
I'd recommend it. Go ahead.
yeah, before you went and became a bionic human, um, you went to a show of some sort.
Oh, yeah. I actually, again, didn't want to go. As you know, we've talked about comedy in general before. I've never been a big fan of huge comedy shows. Like to see them in a bar. But going back to like the 70s when you had Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Andrew Dice Clay, you had comedy shows on an album. You'd buy the album. And like Andrew Dice Clay sold out, I think, 3 or 4 nights in Madison Square Garden. Uh, that's a whole other story because he couldn't be a comedian today. He was so, yeah, let's just say he had his opinions about things. But uh, Jay Leno, and I don't know if he's known in Europe, probably one of the more famous comedians in the
Yeah,
United
it's
States
known.
because of the Tonight Show, late night. He grew up in the comedy circuit, so he's got the comedy chops. Was coming to our one of our local, well, it's called the Venue at one of the local casinos. Your mom wanted to go, and I said, fine, let's go. Um, so I figured, it's a night out, be the last one before I have surgery. So Arsenio Hall opened for him. Another couple went with us. Seats are pretty decent. We're dead center, and I think the arena holds about 4,000 to 4,500. But um, Arsenio Hall was very good. I was kind of surprised he was even on the bill. He also had a late night talk show back in the day.
Surprised he's an opener.
Yeah, well, when you Jay Leno is the bigger name.
Yeah, but
You
I mean,
know,
Arsenio Hall is not a small name.
no,
Like,
but I think probably the money and touring together. Maybe they switch off. I don't know, but I think he's definitely the bigger name, and I'm sure Arsenio, I'm sure, is doing smaller clubs, but here he had a chance to open in a big venue. He was good. I enjoyed him a lot. He had his own late night talk show for many years. He had the barking thing, which some of the people in the crowd, and he really appreciated that people still remembered it because I think that talk show was 20 years ago, maybe longer, 25. Um, he's definitely gotten older, but very funny. So I'd go see him again. And then Jay Leno came out, and you know, I want to say he was again better than I thought he would be, just because he's kind of been I don't want to say a clean comedian, but he didn't get. He's never been one to go after people or disparage people too much. I mean, he was on TV.
yeah,
Let's put it
yeah,
this way.
he's a
He
TV
was
comedian.
he was not Andrew Dice Clay, and if you know Dice, the Dice Man, you know what I'm saying. But
Give me a modern. I'll give you a modern example. He's not Dave Chappelle.
yeah, Dave Chappelle, which I love, and he would make fun of me, which I don't have a problem with. And yeah, he's not a Dave Chappelle, um, but he was the king of late night comedy for many years, and he's also very much into cars. I think he's probably, if not the one of the most wealthy comedians ever, because he did well with his money. He invested it, collected cars. Um, he had a lot of one-liners. It was a very good show, and I was shocked how long it was. I was shocked how he remembered all the jokes. I was looking for a teleprompter. I didn't see one. And I was just going, God, after about an hour, I was kind of ready to go. And I was like, oh, God, let's end. Oh, good. This is the last joke. And then he'd do
It
five,
was a
he
it was an
kept
hour
going.
of just Jay Leno.
Oh, more than an hour, like an hour and a half of
Interesting.
just Jay Leno. And
Interesting.
that's what kind of blew me away. Um, and it's funny. Somebody that was with us, you know them. I asked him, so what'd you think? And the husband said, oh, he was great. And the wife said, you think Jay, with all his money, could buy a suit that would fit? That was the first thing she said. And then I thought about it and I go, God, she's right. He was wearing like this baggy blue suit.
But Jay's such like a normal dude. Like when
Yeah.
he
I
like
mean, he wears denim
denim.
shirts
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Levi's. So,
He's just a
uh,
dude.
yeah, he doesn't think about fashion. Yeah, although he probably has an assistant that should.
His style is in his cars. Like that's where
He
he
doesn't have
showcases.
style. Yeah,
That's
he's
where he
all about
showcases
cars.
his
Yeah,
style is his cars. He's got such a cool collection, and
it's got the best collection. I mean, it's funny. The
that's
two, Seinfeld and him. I mean, Jay has a much bigger, better collection. Seinfeld's into Porsches. I love them both, but they're both into cars, and they have great car shows on TV streaming too. But so I would say yes, go see Jay. It's very good. Somebody else did mention, I didn't even think of it after the fact. They go, how did he look? And I go, he's Jay Leno. He's got the weird chin, the weird head. What do you mean? He goes, well, he was in that fire, that explosion. And I had forgotten about that. I think about 6 months ago or a year ago, there was some kind of
it's
fire.
almost 2 years ago now.
Wow. Okay. You're more in it. So yeah, very good show. The other thing I noticed at the end is we let people go out and a crew came in with the big groupie lockers, to put stuff in.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, listen, what the hell are they cleaning up? There was one guy and a mic on stage. There was nothing else. I go, what kind of road crew do you need for a comedy show? So I don't know if they do their own lighting or what. So I found that interesting.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah.
and the reason that we had to wait around is because I was hurting a bit, Carson, because if you remember at the F1 race when we went down to see the DJ and I tried to hop over the seats, I kind of did the splits in between, and I freaking hurt my hips, man.
Yeah, your hip.
They hurt ever since then, and I thought about calling the doctor. I go, hey, can we do the other hip because it's hurting me more right now than the one we're planning on doing. So
For anyone listening, he did the thing where he lifted his leg to go over a set of bleacher
yeah,
seats at the F1 race in Vegas, like a very normal move, and
oh,
then just
for a young guy.
everything fell apart that night.
On a side note, I did talk to a friend of mine back east that was at her granddaughter's cheerleading event, did something similar in wood stands in a gymnasium, and ended up snapping her tibula and having an ambulance take her away. And I said, hey, man, my hip surgery was nothing. She's out for like 6 months. Bad.
Yeah, tibia's not, but that's such a crazy
It was a freak
thing
accident.
to do.
Yeah, she said it. She was
I don't even
healthy.
know how you do that.
So
Anyways,
that's our health things for. So if anybody wants info on Jay Leno or how hip surgery is or advice, let me know.
he's the guy.
Yeah,
You're
I'm the guy now. I won't say I'm the expert. And again, shout out to Dr. J.
Once you get your second one, you're the expert.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see.
So I guess we'll end with a segment. We'll start trying to squeeze some of these in more since we're starting to get something started with these. But I'd like to start and to introduce our audience to swatches. I don't really know what to call the segment now, but we can call it the swatch segment for now, or
the swatch it.
Swatch you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
it's in Swatch. For those of you that don't know, Carson has become an expert in somewhat of an expert in swatches. He peruses the European flea markets. I mean, I was somewhat into swatches in my youth, and I think my uncle also kind of spurred an interest for you. Swatches are kind of the people's watch, and I think it kind of saved the watch industry.
Very much so.
Back
at, Swatch saved the Swiss watchmaking industry.
And I think for Americans, it's funny. Everybody says, "Oh, I had one of those. But it is a culture It is a fashion
It's an
culture.
iconic brand. It's one of those brands that is iconic with
Well, people
everyone.
don't know what Swatch owns now, and even
Yeah.
if you're not into watches, the fact that a watch that was kind of the people's watch, not expensive, made in 1991, can still operate today is pretty good engineering.
And yeah, they're cheap and not meant to last a long time.
They
That was the
do,
whole concept of them,
yeah,
was they
kind
were
of the
once
disposable
they're
watch.
disposable watches, and it's like an interesting story to kind of tell you how how the Swatch brand is. The guy who kind of traded the idea of Swatch watches is also the guy that came up with the idea for the smart car. He wanted to bring the same concept of the Swatch watch to the car industry
Well,
and
you
make
got one
a
out of two right. He's batting
I mean,
500.
the smart car is done pretty well. I mean, it's obviously not a it's not a car everyone loves, but it's
If you're gonna
definitely
build a car, make it look good, make it have some kind of balance and
it's been an
not an
impactful
embarrassment.
vehicle,
It's been
but
impactful, but you couldn't
any
do better. But
in
that's a whole
yeah,
another
yeah.
tangent. So,
But so I think it'd be cool to introduce our audience to every episode a cool swatch that we have. I think for watches coming out of the Swatch factory, I think we're well into the 200 mark at this point. And total
you
watches
mean in
we
your
have,
personal collection? Yeah, well over
yeah, between
200,
me
I
and
think.
you, we're well into
Yeah,
the 200s of swatches, probably nearing 300 with all the total watches we have, counting other stuff as well. But you brought out probably two, or one of them, I think, is the most special one. I think you own one that I find personally extremely cool,
well, yeah.
and a cool like
Uh,
collection.
of the collection, I would say this is one of my favorite.
Yeah,
It's the I'll say the Phil Collins one, just because of
yeah. Your attention.
being
We'll talk
married.
about
Yeah,
that
we'll talk
one
about
at a
that
later
another
date.
time.
But
But
the
this
first one,
is museum quality. It was
yeah.
not purchased at a flea market. It was actually purchased at a major auction.
So
Um,
the first one I want you to show the audience is the larger of the two.
Let me get
Because
it up
this
to the
is
camera. I
yeah.
hate
So
to touch the packaging because quite part of the thing is the original packaging, the original receipts, kind of untouched, unworn, adds to the value. So, do you want me to open? I mean,
yeah, you can pull it out of the
yeah,
packaging. So this one is more the newer of the one. This was part of the Swatch XU. So this is a um, collection of watches you could actually personalize and make it completely unique. And this is actually a watch that celebrates the 50th anniversary of the Apollo moon landing. So
yeah.
this only came out a few years ago. It's a more recent one. It wasn't as exclusive as the one we'll talk about in a sec.
I think
Um,
it's. I mean,
but
it is unique. It is somewhat
what's
exclusive.
unique about Swatch XU is what they do is they have this image, and
Yeah,
you can place the watch outline on the image at any orientation, any spot you want, and it creates a unique print on the watch. And I'm pretty sure this Apollo moon landing one was a pretty limited release. It was harder to get access to, and is a very cool one. You know, space represents the space landing, the Apollo moon
yeah.
landing. A very cool watch to have, and with the astronaut there, right there, clear as day on the top of the band. It's a very cool Swatch SU
Right. And on the
collab.
face, it's hard to see, but just the planets and
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a
it's
full
very intricate. And we don't have the camera to really. Well, actually, maybe there.
yeah,
Can you,
it's a full print of a portion of the image. The watch
yeah.
outlined the portion of the image. So
Unworn original packaging. You know, um, it is actually a beautiful watch. It even still has the. For those of you, when you buy a Swatch, it'll come with a plastic layer over it, and I don't know if you can tell if it's still on there.
yeah,
So
definitely a cool watch. More recent edition. Now the next one you have with it is an older one, an absolute
yeah,
classic and
but
much
this
more
came as a
rare.
set. at the
Yeah, so
auction.
you got it as
Yeah,
a set. So they're both space themed. Um, this one, it's called the
about to
SKZ
show.
100. It's called Access to Space. And
I
I will
just
say it is one of 1,000 available. It was a very limited release, only to special members of the Swatch Club, and made in 1996. And what
oh yeah,
is
you want to explain the
etched?
Swatch Club?
Well, that's for another time.
Well,
Swatch Club
briefly,
is basically a membership club
yeah,
for
you had to sign
the
up for the
biggest
club to get
Swatch.
access to certain swatches, and I
Yeah, for the
probably
biggest
won't even
Swatch
take this one
collectors.
out. But
But so this watch was very special because it was actually worn by an astronaut aboard the space shuttle Columbia. Um, and it was worn to space, not that specific one, but that
I
exact
know
model.
I was going to say not this one,
Um,
but
wore that one to space in 1996. Claude Nipolier, um, yeah, on a mission aboard the space shuttle Columbia, where they launched, I believe it was like an Italian satellite, um, and so that one again, one of 1,000 they made worldwide, and when you think of the scale of Swatch watches, that is an extremely limited release. Um,
yeah. So
there's a few on sale, a couple on sale. Um, Currently, they vary in price, but around $500 is what those um, are listed at, give or take a decent amount. It kind of varies,
and
but
I would say these are in that range, if not higher, because they're in pristine, never worn condition in the original packaging.
yeah, very cool watches. The access to space is very limited, and a cool story with that one with another watch that has been to space, limited release as well. So
Well,
only 1,000.
I'll get into some of the stuff too with it. I don't know if you're going to touch on it. So with this lot, we also got the limited release
I, those
tins,
so these tins actually were special.
unopened. These are
They're
unopened.
impossible to find on the internet, but the only one I found and the information I got on them is they gave you to them at the release of the Omega Speedmasters, so
Yeah,
the original Moonwatch. And you got those tins at the release events, so extremely rare.
which
And
we were
this,
also at the auction. We got the book.
yeah, the Speedmaster, the Moonwatch book, one of those like coffee table books with
Oh,
impressive
it's actually
imaging.
beautiful. If you're a
It's a
watch guy, this is you gotta
absolutely
have
beautiful
this.
book,
Yeah.
worth a couple $100 by itself.
If you're an Omega
And
guy, DM me, man.
yeah, super cool. So this whole lot he found was, or he won was, yeah, a moon
Came
space
with
themed one.
the
And
patch and pictures of the original owners.
yeah, definitely one of my favorite swatches that we currently own. So
Yeah, I think for you, Carson, since you're an engineer, you've always been into NASA. You've got some NASA collectibles still here at our house. I won't say what they are, but
they're super
unique.
cool.
Yeah. So definitely a cool set of swatches and the connection with NASA. Uh, we have a somewhat of a military background. My father was assigned and retired out of Vandenberg, which is the first space base for the new
Now a
Space
Space
Force.
Force.
Yeah, it was a missile base, part of the U.S. Air Force. So NASA's always kind of been a big part of the family, following it. But the moon landing, one of the biggest events in human history. Uh, so kind of fitting. Very cool watches. If we do
Yep.
ever sell it, I'll be sad to see it go. But I mean, it is a business.
Yeah. So I think with that, with this, hopefully we keep this swatch segment going. We got plenty more ones to share with the audience.
Yeah, we'll
But
keep it
any
to the unique ones. I would say the museum quality. I do want to say for those following us and wondering what's going on with the Astros, you had your last couple of practices. You had co-practices with some other football teams, and I bring it up probably because you didn't want to, but the names in Europe I find hilarious. I love some of the names. So Carson, who were the two teams you practiced with the last couple of times?
Oh, so I'll start with the more tame name. A local team, the Raccoons.
I think of
Um,
Guardians of the Galaxy, man. That should be their movie. That should
yep.
be their mascot.
So the Raccoons did a practice with us a couple weeks ago, and then actually the Saturday I got back from in the U.S., we had a joint practice with the Bastards. The
That one
Bastards.
cracks me up. It should be the Inglorious Bastards, but
I
yeah,
mean, it's
too much connection.
it reminds me of the classic college baseball team,
Oh, the
the
Dirtbags?
Long Beach State Dirtbags.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That wasn't
it's a
their official
classic.
name, though, was it?
Yeah,
It was
it
just,
was. Yeah,
oh, it
it
was?
was their
Okay.
baseball team name
It still is, I
specifically.
believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I'm not
Hopefully, in
sure
this day
though.
of political correctness, it still is. So, yeah,
But
I just wanted to bring that up.
yep.
So, all good.
Any
Looking forward to our episode 43. Please reach out if you have questions, comments, criticisms, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Thanks for
Cheers.
listening. Bye.